my beautiful. Books! I love books, I mean, obviously. And I thought with the new year here, some people might have it as a resolution to read more books. So how about a few recommendations to kick off this new year? Starting with fiction, The Lost Symbol by Dan Brown. This is a Robert Langdon story. If you don't know who Robert Langdon is, he is the protagonist of The Da Vinci Code and Angels and Demons and Inferno, if you guys know the movies more than the books. This is the third one, the one that didn't get a movie, and in my opinion, the best one. If for nothing else, it has the best villain. The Martian by Andy Weir. Weir? I'm not a fan of sci-fi. I don't look at space, despite what my shirt may tell you. I'm not the biggest space nerd, how about that? And yet, this book is captivating. This book is amazing, and I could not put it down to save my life. And then there were None by Agatha Christie. For some reason, I cannot find my copy. Agatha Christie is one of my favorite authors, if not my favorite, if you say Poe is a poet. Anyway. And then There Were None is by far her best mystery, in my opinion, and with the new movies that have come out. Murder on the Orient Express came out a little bit ago, and a new movie is scheduled to come out based on an Agatha Christie mystery. If you like those movies, you'll definitely like her books. Plot twists everywhere. Now we move on to nonfiction, The Family Romanov, which doesn't have a cover. There you go. The full title is The Family Romanov, Murder, Rebellion, and the Fall of Imperial Russia. This is basically about the last Romanov, Tsar Nicholas, and his wife, the last Empress, and their children. Most people just know Anastasia. This is basically the last little bit of their legacy, and it's great. Neil Patrick Harris, Choose Your Own Autobiography. I don't like reading many autobiographies or biographies. This decided to change my mind, and I've been reading more biographies since. This one is fantastic if you want to follow the life of Neil Patrick Harris and still have fun, because he's just a fun person to check it out. Night by Elie Wiesel, I don't know, and I'm sorry. This is the account of a man who went through the Holocaust in World War II. There are some difficult parts. It was a difficult time, obviously, but it's definitely a great first encounter look into it, and wow. Young adult books, I'm a big fan of young adult literature, so we can start off with I Am Not a Serial Killer by Dan Wells. This is one of my favorites recently. It's about a boy who is a sociopath, and he understands his danger of being a sociopath, but then all of a sudden murders start happening in his town and shit gets real. Also, if you want good plot twists, Tears of a Tiger by Sharon M. Draper. If you want to cry, do it. This reminded me a lot of some of the high schools I went to, some of the people I knew. It follows a couple of teenagers after one of their best friends died in a car crash, and it's just so sad, but so real, and that's what's great about it. Also, it doesn't read like a normal book, so you might have that to look forward to. A Monster Calls by Patrick Ness. The movie came out not too long ago. Read the book. This is a very fascinating tale about the 5 stages of grief, and it's just amazing. I don't know how I can describe it. How can I explain it? Read it. It's great. The Last Book in the Universe by Rodman Philbrick. Yeah. This is dystopian. This is good. In a time when books don't exist, all of a sudden, the last book in the universe does. What happens next? Read it. Now we're going to move on to graphic novels / short stories / poetry. I love graphic novels. I like short stories. I'm not a fan of poetry, and yet I still have recommendations. American Born Chinese by Jean Luen Yang, and I'm sorry if I mispronounced it, oh my gosh. This is a young adult graphic novel about being a Chinese American. It's not only just about modern day telling of the Chinese American boy, but it also goes into some Chinese myths like the Monkey King and stuff like that, so great read. Manga Shakespeare. I specifically chose Macbeth because Macbeth is my favorite Shakespeare play and so far my favorite manga Shakespeare. If you have a hard time understanding Shakespeare, if you can't just read the plays, I would recommend the manga, although I would tell your teacher before you do that. Mara Stories by Gary Schmidt. Another Holocaust book. I don't know why. I'm not as historically fascinated with the Holocaust as I am about the fall of Imperial Russia, and yet! Maybe because it was such a huge tragedy, that's why I'm so drawn to it. But these are still great, and it's a bunch of short stories in one. I cannot have a section about poetry without recommending my favorite poet. Favorite author? Vladimir tells me he's not an author. He's a poet. My favorite writer. The complete poetry of Edgar Allan Poe. I obviously had to recommend this. Gothic poetry god here. And now we move on to just a no genre whatsoever, just other books I would recommend if you like art or animated movies. I would recommend The Art of Studio Ghibli. Specifically, I chose Howl's Moving Castle because Howl's Moving Castle is my favorite Hayao Miyazaki film. I have a couple more in the back, you can see there. So if you're an artist, if you love the movies, if you're interested in any sort of aspect, they even have the scripts in the back if you're into that stuff. I recommend these books. The World According to Mr. Rogers. Now, who doesn't love Mr. Rogers? It's the same with Bob Ross. We can't hate them, and we want to be able to look like at the world through their eyes because they've got some sort of magic sparkle in them. So I got this, and so far I've been feeling like I should put on a pair of loafers and a cardigan. And last but not least, Improvisation for the Spirit by Kate Goodman. Now, obviously I have to throw a theater book in there somewhere. I chose an improv book because I did improv in college, but this isn't just improv. This is improv for your everyday life. So if you kind of suck at, say, everyday conversations, if you suck in business meetings where you have to speak and answer questions, if you suck in a classroom setting, this would actually be a really good book for you. And it comes with exercises so that you can practice as you read. In a way, obviously you would need another person, but I do recommend this. So those are my book recommendations for now. I'm going to have more at the end of this year because I took it upon myself to create a massive resolution with books. So we'll see how it goes, and hopefully I read some good stuff that I can probably recommend next year. But for now, I have those. Those are the ones that kind of struck a chord. When I was thinking about doing this video, I obviously could have recommended a lot more. I love a lot of books. We'll just see how it goes from there. Hopefully this was helpful if you don't like to read or if you just don't know where to start. And if you want to tell me what book you're reading, we can probably share. We can have a book club. Actually, I would really enjoy that. Currently, I'm reading The Murderous Affair at Styles by Agatha Christie. It was her debut novel. And so far it's pretty good, but I don't want to give anything away because when it comes to Agatha Christie, as I've said before, it's just plot twists, so I can't even tell you what I think because I'm probably wrong. And that's all I have for today. As always, beautiful, stay weird. Bye! Now I gotta put this tower back. Gosh darn it.